It wasn't until Sam saw their faces and heard their voices that he understood the true extent of his danger. Except, he didn't exactly hear their voices. Rather, they reverberated in his head like mad drums in the distance. Upon the hilltop the night before, the voices had been far enough away to have dulled the effect. Sam supposed that their faces were moved by M's magics. The veil in Point Pleasant did more than keep the spirit's physical presence from pouring into the town, however. Whatever veil prevented the spirits from trespassing on the Loveland Castle's grounds didn't appear to be nearly as effective as M's had been. So here, this close to so many frenzied spirits, Sam's mind was laid bare. Samantha, forgive me.
Oh God, why is it so dark? Can somebody help me? I can't find my glasses and it's awfully red in here. I'm scared.
Blood? Why is there so much blood? With each passing thought, a face appeared in the darkness of Sam's mind like a flashing light and then was gone, leaving a ghostly afterglow. With each passing moment, Sam could feel the tendrils of his sanity slipping away. Were all spirits left to roam the earth following the shattering the veil doomed to such anguish? Was there not a spirit in good spirits among them? Or were those happy few the ones that passed on?
Don't you dare touch me!
Where's the light? There was supposed to be a light! Mommy?
Sam, is that you?
Come in, boy! Hurry!
Sam's eyes, glazed no more, snapped into focus. That last thought was significantly stronger, and without the liquid, thick terror that coated each of the spirit's thoughts like tar. In a mad scramble, Sam looked up towards the window of the tallest tower and once again saw the figure hidden in the shadows looking down at him. Is it possible that the voice came from this figure? And if it had, would Sam really be interested in facing the figure that had summoned Mothman with such apparent ease? Despite his current predicament, Sam found himself lost in his thoughts for a brief moment. If this figure had summoned Mothman, was he the one responsible for destroying Point Pleasant and responsible for what happened to M? All thoughts of the spirits harassing his mind fled as red anger replaced their voices. More nuanced and reasoned thoughts concerning his inability to actually face such a powerful caster, or the rumors he had heard in Unity City that Mothman had gone rogue in the past few days were nowhere to be found. Before he could gain his senses, his body had somehow moved him to the front entrance of the Loveland Castle. Bam! 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 Sam's fist slammed into the oak door that looked wild in the pinks of the spirit storm encroaching outside of the castle walls. Had Sam been a little more stable in that moment, he would have remembered that his baseball bat was still sheathed in his backpack and likely would have been more effective, and less painful. He paid no mind though, and soon the iron studs that nailed the door's iron bands in place mixed red with pink. Banging, banging, and banging. And then the door began to open with a soft creak. Before the door fully revealed the inside of the castle's entrance hall, Sam had enough time for one last thought.
Oh crap, now what?
But then it was too late to back down. Sam finally remembered to unsheath his bat, threw his backpack to the side, and steeled himself to face whatever was inside. The entrance hall was drowned in darkness, but only for a moment. The unlit torches along the double-sided staircase bloomed into life, revealing a Baroque interior that seemed to have been transported through the ages. Somehow, the top of the staircase was left obscured in the shadows, unnaturally obscured. Sam jumped as the door shut with a thunk behind him, and before he could catch himself, a voice boomed inside the hall.
Are you the caster that destroyed my beautiful Mothman?
His Mothman, Sam frantically repeated to himself. So this was the caster that had destroyed Point Pleasant after all. Sam's grip on the baseball bat tightened as he stepped forward, revealing more of himself in the hall's torchlight. He wasn't exactly sure what he would do or how he would do it, but without the caster's Mothman to aid him, Sam believed he stood a chance. If he could just get in close enough, maybe he could just beat the damn guy into a bloody pulp. But, once properly pulped, Sam had questions he wanted to ask. Yes, Sam had many questions.
Right or left?
Sam thought, but before he could pivot in either direction, the voice boomed out again, louder than before.
No, you're far too weak to have done that.
The sound reverberated around the stone walls and set Sam's teeth a chatter, paralyzing him in place. Paralysis not by some force of magic, but by pure shock and terror. And now, more quietly, almost as an afterthought, the figure spoke again.
No, you're most likely just another squonk of a caster after my spell books. Let's take a look, shall we?
And with that final question, delivered in a raspy, croaky voice that didn't sound entirely too human, Sam observed the shadowy figure lift something and bring it down on the marbled ground of the staircase with a tremendous thwack, followed by a green fireball that shot forth towards Sam. Even in the flame's light, the figure remained hidden. Sam broke from his temporary paralysis and tapped into the power that he and Adam had called his intuition, a power that only ever triggered when he felt as though he was truly in danger. Unbeknownst to Sam, but visible to the mysterious figure up top the staircase, Sam's eyes turned a deep and luminous gold, and in this gold Sam saw every pathway the fireball would take and which path was most likely. Teeing up in the direction the fireball would take long before it reached its destination, Sam gritted his teeth, dug in his feet, and swung. His bat connected with the fire with such momentum that the ball exploded into a fireworks display of all shades of green, traveling along all the possible pathways the fireball could have taken. As his eyes turned back to their normal blue, Sam huffed and puffed as though he had just sprinted back and forth across the grand hall. There was a moment of silence. Sam felt as though he could almost see the look of surprise on the shadow's face.
That's right. That's right, you bastard. Anything you throw at me, I'm gonna hit right back at you, Sam said, catching his breath.
Ah, not every day you see an abstract power. You're quite special, kid. Let me guess, can you somehow see the pathways of a projectile or attack before they actually hit, giving you enough time to counter?
The shadow's voice rasped.
Abstract power? Does he mean my intuition? There's a name or a classification for it. And just who is this guy? He only saw it once.
Sam was truly puzzled.
But there's a fundamental flaw with abstract powers,
The caster continued.
They're often too powerful for the caster's own good.
The voice croaked almost in a lecturing tone, the shadow now pacing back and forth along the banister.
Often these abstract powers become crutches to the caster's progression in aura development and training.
A pause and then...
Better to just show you, eh? There are 6 ways I can defeat your abstract power, if I've guessed it right off the top of my head. Don't believe me? Allow me to demonstrate. Number 1, exhaustion. Abstract powers to the untrained are more draining than ordinary casting.
Thwack! With the sound ringing through the hall once more, another green fireball erupted from the shadows, although this one was many times larger. Sam's golden eyes flickered on and off as he struggled to activate his intuition. He finally succeeded just in time to bat away the fireball, but not succeeding in blowing it up with the might of the swing he had had before. It flew into the wall, turning the stone momentarily molten before being sucked into the torches lining the staircase. For a brief moment, their flames flickered emerald before settling again. Sam collapsed to his knees, vision blurring as pellets of sweat pocked the marble beneath him and almost puked from exhaustion. It took everything in Sam's power to keep his intuition activated.
Number 2, speed. It doesn't matter if you can't see the pathways if you can't react in time.
Thwack! An orange bolt of lightning sprung forth into being, but moved so fast that it had already struck Sam full on the chest before he had had a chance to even process what was happening. Sam's shirt was singed from where the bolt had struck, and he thought he had felt a molar in the left side of his mouth crack as his jaw clenched from the jolt.
Number 3, multiple attacks, multiple directions.
Thwack! 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 Sickly, purple ruptures in the air opened all around Sam, far too many to count, and from each tear, a staff topped by a beautiful blue and gold orb shot forth and collided with Sam with frightening force, cracking several ribs with the final bash thwacking his solar plexus and knocking the air out of him.
Number 4, randomization. If the attack takes a truly random pathway, how could one be more likely than another? What use is your ability then, boy?
Thwack! Once again, a bolt of lightning shot forth from the shadow, but instead of shooting straight through Sam, it zigzagged all across the room. Try as he might, Sam's golden eyes could only see several dozen paths, each one as just as bright and probable as the other. The bolt finally shot past his right shoulder. Sam attempted to leap left before it stopped dead in its path and fired directly into his back. Sam stumbled forward, this time successfully losing his Sinclair sandwich from earlier in the day. Another molar cracked as more than sweat fell into the castle floor.
Number 5, area of effect.
Oh no, please thwack!
A blinding light, so bright that it reminded Sam of the videos on nuclear tests he used to watch on YouTube before the internet went completely belly up. It filled the room. Sam's sight left him.
And finally, number 6, attacks from within.
Thwack! In the darkness of Sam's stolen sight, a great fire was lit and possibly far away, and it was moving towards him. Flying towards him. In Sam's confusion, the fiery Mothman was upon him before he could finally make out its shape. But then it was too late, and Sam was on fire.